So we've talked about a couple different types of pipes on above ground tanks and things to look for. Now we're going to break into it a little bit more, going through different types of pipes, flange connections, fittings, things that will help you out as an inspector identify them on a tank. For example, this is a remote fill. You know, is this the correct approved 90-degree elbow and union fitting and type of pipe? Are these all allowed for this type of system? So we're going to look into those couple little points a little bit more closer and help you out inspect these tanks. Let's get into it. So now that we're going to get a little bit closer into this, let's first just cover a couple tools, basic tools that you need. Simple flashlight and an inspection mirror are very helpful in these. A lot of times pipes are in hard to reach places, and a mirror that bends at the end of these are great little inspection tools. And again, your flashlight, these are great to use for inspecting pipes. Obviously you would need a lot of other safety things, ladders, and other items to inspect pipes safely, but these are just some basic things that you would need. There's three main types of connections for pipes, so let's get into those a little bit closer. So the first one will be a flange connection. This is an example of a pipe flange. Another one would be a welded connection. This is a 90 and it would have a welded connection on it. And then the last one would be a threaded connection. This is where a pipe would be cut, threaded, and then inserted into another pipe or fitting. So let's get a little bit closer into each one of those. So let's take a closer look at this flange connection. This is an example of two pipes that are joined together with this threaded flange. And then it would be having a gasket in between this face here. And the two would be bolted together and sealed up tight. This is great for inspections to allow inspectors to disconnect the fittings, isolate, and a variety of different things. Again, this is a flange connection. You want to look on the edge of the flange and you can see what the rating is for the connection. So this is a weld 90. There is no threads, there's no connections at all on this. Another piece of pipe would join this, and then a welder would weld multiple beads around the edge of it and join this up to a variety of different pipes. The only problem with welded pipe is that you can't disconnect anything to look at it. There's no fittings, so typically this is welded into a flange connection. They can also make that, so they could weld directly to it. Again, proper sizes, but this is an example of a weld fitting that you might encounter. So here's a closer look at a threaded connection. This has a 6-inch pipe nipple with some threads, and it joins into this coupling, and then a 90 elbow here. These threads are made in the field by a mechanical contractor, and then they have a thread sealant applied to them, and then they are tightened into each fitting. One key item to notice between these two fittings, these are both couplings on the end. The difference between the couplings is that the top coupling is smooth and straight, as you can see. The bottom one has raised edges. This is a beaded fitting. This is a merchant coupling fitting. A merchant coupling fitting typically comes on the end of the pipe when you buy a 21-foot stick of pipe. It is not approved for the use with fuel. This is a beaded coupling. It is approved. It's an easy thing to pick up as you're looking at pipes. A lot of mechanical contractors continue to use these because they came with the pipe for free. They also use them on emergency vents. So it's pretty easy to pick up on the field. You do need to read these. Sometimes there are higher pressure, 3000 PSI, forged fittings, or not cast, but forged, machined, and they may be smooth. But the majority of the time when tanks are inspected and these fittings are used, they are the merchant couplings and they are not approved. This is an example of a union. Again, you can see the edges. There will be a rating stamped in the end of it, 150 pound, which means that this has 150 PSI that it's rated for. Those are things that you want to look for to see if this is the proper coupling or fitting for your pipe system that you're inspecting. We talked about types of pipe thread sealant. This is one that is called Soft Set, made by Gaseolia, and is rated for a variety of different fuels. It is soft set, which means that you can apply it to the threads and then remove it, and it will not set the pipes. There's other types that are red, and they will, once you apply it to the threads, they lock it in very, very tight. Another type of thread sealant is this Gaseolia. It's pretty easy to see. It's in a yellow and green container, and it says E-Seal, and if you read the label, it says that it is rated for biofuels. It actually has a picture of a corn on the side, and it says that it's rated for B20 fuels, E85, things that have ethanol in them. If you use the other blue or red soft sets or hard set fuels or pipe thread sealants, the fuels will break them down and eventually cause a leak at one of the threaded connections. So as an inspector, you need to make sure that you have the right thread sealant for the pipes that you may be disconnecting. This is an example of a flex connector that you may encounter. Two things you want to look for on a flex connector to see if it's approved for above ground storage tanks or outside use is this joint and this joint to see if they're welded. And then also you're looking for the identifying tag, which will have the UL approval, and then it'll actually say if it is approved for fuels above ground, it will say above ground primary flex connector, for example, like on this one. Pipe supports are very important on long runs of piping. Typically pipes are supported every 10 feet or so. Again, depends upon the code and the location of where you are. But this is an example of something that's very commonly used in the industry. It's called Unistrut or Strut or Kindorf. It's very great. It's a great tool for connecting together a lot of different pipes, conduits, and building support systems. But basically this back piece is the main part that you would bolt to a wall. These are called strut clamps. They come in all different shapes and sizes. And then the pipe, for example, this 1/2-inch pipe that comes through would be secured to this. So again, this would be secured and bolted to a wall. Your pipe would be running up, and then you would secure it with these clamps right here. Very versatile, secure system to install. This is an example of a U-bolt with a I-rod support underneath of it. And then this would be bolted to a variety of different things. Could be strut, could be an angle bracket or a building. But basically this piece of plastic here, your piping would be sitting right in here and secured nice and tight. But instead of it having a crevice corrosion against another piece of steel or whatever else is down here, this piece of plastic, which has a curve to it, allows the pipe to sit on here and be protected and supported without having that friction back and forth as the pipe expands and contracts and is being secured. So great product that came out, a couple different manufacturers that make these. This one's made by I-Rod, but all different shapes and sizes. Again, traditionally used on a U-bolt application. Secure this piece and then bolt it firmly to a support